Welcome, all you beautiful souls. I am here with a special guest. It's like we're on a field trip with our consciousness. Cynthia Sue Larson. She is, if you guys are not familiar with Cynthia, you have got to check her out online. Hopefully, this interview is going to give you a lot of insight. She's not only a published author, she is a physicist, but she's had amazing experiences with quantum jumping, reality shifting, timeline shifting, all the fun things. And we're going to talk with her today. Cynthia, can you please tell my audience who you are? I mean, to the best of your ability.
Yeah, I'll just keep it short. But basically, I originally studied physics at UC Berkeley. So I have a degree in physics from Berkeley. I then subsequently got an MBA degree in specializing in information technology. So I worked in information technology for a number of years in the financial industry and doing all kinds of things, everything from computer security to project management, lots of stuff. But then where it gets interesting is when I subsequently had a Kundalini awakening, which happened several years after I'd sort of been moving on from that project management career anyway. And that Kundalini awakening, it basically is just feeling like energy moving through my body. This is a very important part of my curriculum today, even though people don't usually put it on their resume. The Kundalini is extraordinary. And it was basically an awakening and an alignment of all of my energy centers, as well as an awareness of abilities that we don't normally recognize that we have. You could call them superpowers of just being able to see 360 degrees around your body. You only have eyes pointing forward, but you can actually see like everything. And being able to astral travel, instantly know things in other places that were actually happening that I wasn't there. So it was extraordinary and shocking. Blew my mind apart in the best possible way, but it was disturbing at the time.
I bet.
So that was an initiation for me into recognizing that I needed to not go back to what I've been doing, not do regular shut up and calculate physics. No, instead to move the whole thing to another direction of consciousness. And so that's what I have been doing. And then I got lots of additional nudges and prompts, which led me to now I'm the president of a nonprofit institution, the International Mandela Effect Conference. We are a 501c3, and that's at imec.world. For more than 20 years, I've been publishing my monthly newsletter, Reality Shifters, which includes firsthand reports from people around the world, noticing what we now call the Mandela Effect, but what also has been called a number of other things. Mary Rose Barrington called it just one of those things, or JOT. But, it's where things appear, disappear, transform, transport, and I include changes in the experience of time. That's a big one for me. And I like to go into the etiology and the history of how these phenomena have actually been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years, to the point we have names for them in other cultures, like in Norway, they have the Etian and Vardjeger. So that would be in Finland. First one was Etieg, and then the second one, Vardjeger, is Norway. And what those indicate is someone arriving before they get there. So you have this, it's not just a premonition, but you hear the sounds, you know that they're there, and you know how many of them are there, and then they arrive a little while later. So a lot of this phenomena has been documented for a long time, and that's what I like to do, is share what I know about quantum physics with what these long-standing observations have been about the impact of consciousness in the regular everyday world. So all my work is about that. I do private coaching sessions, and my website's realityshifters.com. I've written a number of books. That's the short version.
Yeah, you have. And I love your books, and I encourage everyone to check them out. Especially, I really like the Reality Shifters Guide to High Energy Money. I think that's so helpful for people. And also the Quantum Jumps. I love that book as well. They're all good, but you've got to check out. If you're into consciousness, you've got to check this stuff out. So I don't even know where to start, because there's so much that I want to talk to you about. You just have just a vast amount of information for this audience. So I think what I want to start with is timelines. Now, when you talk about quantum jumping, are you talking about shifting realities? Is that all the same thing? And then shifting timelines. Are those all the same concept?
They're all related. And the way I use the terms, I started using the term reality shifts back in the 1990s when I the internet was still brand new. There were no blogs and nothing like that. I was just trying to do a search, like, what are people calling this thing? It's really real. And I didn't know about Mary Rose Barrington with Jot. That's okay. So I called it Reality Shifts. Then I came to find out PMH Atwater had written a book in the 1990s about future memory, and she included a chapter called Reality Shifts. Brilliant term. So that's where that was kind of the launch point of this is the phenomenon where you put your keys or your wallet down, you know where you put them, you come back and they're gone, and there's nobody else that could have possibly moved them. And then you search, you look around, often you'll find them, and often right where you originally looked, or else some really bizarre place that you also may have looked, but there's no way they could have been put there. And like, there's no explanation. So those kind of reality shifts it's almost something like, what's going on? Like, who moved my socks or my cheese or whatever? Like, what's going on? Who did this? And that's the reality shift. Like, what? Okay.
You had a powerful one. I just watched a video recently with you, and you were talking about swinging a bottle.
Yes.
And now that blew my mind.
That blew my mind. That was crazy. So it's, okay, I'll do the setup. So I've been watching a video by my good friend, colleague, and the head of science at, his name is Dr. Dean Radin, and he works at Institute of Noetic Sciences. And I just spent like an hour watching a video where he was talking about real magic, title of his latest book. So I'm thinking about that. I'm in that groove, and I think, okay, enough of that. But I'm still thinking about it after I finish watching it. Like, okay, time to clean the dinner table. I'm going to put this nice coat of, furniture polish on it. It's in a plastic bottle, and I shake it. It's almost empty. You know when a bottle gets almost empty and you want to use the last bit, but it's sort of got a thick consistency. So I shook the bottle toward the cap end. The cap was tightly attached, so it's not going to make a mess.
Yeah.
But I shook it out of my visual range. My hand is now down behind me. And somehow that bottle slipped right out of my hand, which just about never happens. So I shook it so intensely that it vanished. So I was listening for the bang, because right behind my hand was the oven. It should have gone bang and hit the oven. No sound. I look at it like, what? And knowing it's me, I look inside the oven. I know anybody else like, what? But it's me. So I'm like, okay, what happened? Look inside the oven. It's not there.
Anyone else would be like, what is happening? You're like, ooh, this is fun.
Yeah, something happened here. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't in the oven. And when I came into the kitchen, I'd shut the door behind me. The only other possible trajectory, if it hadn't hit the oven, it might have ricocheted. It would have been a weird pool shot, through the doorway, around the door. Would have been a real bizarre thing. Across the hallway, I'm giving away what happened next. Yeah. I'll just cut to the chase. So I checked the whole kitchen. It's not there. I give up on it. Like, okay, I guess I'll get a brand new bottle. That's a shame. I guess I didn't lose too much, but that's a shame. And then somehow I just I had the new bottle, and I'm walking through the living room, and there's the old bottle on the floor in front of the TV set. This is a good 20 feet away through a closed door across a hallway, tiny little, could it possibly have been flung there? Maybe I would have heard it. And it's a long shot. I give it a 5% chance. It's like one of the hard things if you're doing miniature golf. It's that impossible shot.
Yeah. Like, no,
how
would it have happened and not have been heard?
No.
I mean, that's incredible. Yeah. I
love those. Should have hit the oven. Should have been bang. And then it would have rebounded.
Those stories.
But, yeah.
Yeah. I love those stories. And I've had moments, and I think people can relate to this, I think, in a term like deja vu, right? People have deja vu a lot. And I really don't know what that's all about. I always just think that it means that I'm on the right track, or I don't know. But I had a moment one time, and I'm not married. I haven't been married for about 10 years, but I had a moment when I was washing the dishes one night, and I felt panic in my body because I had lost my wedding ring. And it went through me for about 30 to 45 seconds of like, oh my gosh, where did my wedding ring go? I'm not married. So I know there's another reality with me in it.
Did it ever come back, or you haven't found it yet?
No, there is not a wedding ring that exists because I'm not married. So it was like I was having a memory of somebody that was not me, but is me.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Right. Now I know what you mean.
That's a different reality. That was a different experience.
Yeah, and it's like a parallel adjacent reality that's got some bleed through, so you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel it. So
Mm-hmm.
when you make those, okay, back to your original question, what's the difference between that
Yeah.
reality shifting and the way I call it quantum jumping? Quantum jumping would be more the intentional. I know nowadays you got young people who use that term reality shifting. They're doing a little something different with it, but
Right.
I would, but I would call reality shifting in my lexicon more of the accidental tourist kind of variety. It's kind of like, where'd my bottle go?
Mm-hmm.
Or, it's kind of like, I didn't mean to do this. When you bring in your intentionality, that's more of what I would call quantum jumping, where now you are aware, like, whoa, I glimpsed another reality. I was married. That's cool. Or maybe that's not cool or whatever. But
Right.
you got some feeling about it.
Mm-hmm.
And based on how you respond to that, and when it's that close, it's almost like a bus that you can catch. It's almost
Yeah.
like a radio station. You can tune the dial, and that signal comes right in, and there you are. And it might be that you're healthy, that you'd had a long lasting health condition. You can jump out of that. And sometimes we need a little miracle or something in order to facilitate that. Or
Mm-hmm.
some people have trouble making that big a jump. They almost need the Dumbo's feather, so they can jump to a reality where now, like they had cavities all their life, and now they're in a reality where you can actually get a toothpaste that heals would-be cavities very quickly. It takes years to make a cavity, months to cure it. That kind of remineralizing toothpaste,
Wow.
boom, fixed. No more
Wow.
cavities. So a lot of people make that kind of a jump, and then if they really thought about it, they'd realize, I don't think we had toothpaste like that before, or various things like that can come up. So it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Now, I've also heard other people do like meditations and stuff where it's like the door effect, where like you're meditating in your whatever reality you want. Like I just wrote a book, The Higher Self Connection. So while I was writing that book, I was really becoming an author. I was really feeling myself be an author. And a lot of those meditations would help me out. And I would go behind the door and there's my author self, Stephanie, and I'd embody her. Is that kind of an intentional way to do things, or do you have another
Yeah,
recommendation of how?
I like to bring it fully into the body. So, like, I actually will I told one person that had a workshop about quantum jumping I was teaching that he could jump. I was telling everyone they could do that. He really latched onto it because he was dealing with a cancer diagnosis that his doctor had given him. He'd had like, gone for a second opinion. It was a same second opinion. So he's like, I'm getting kind of nervous. It's like they're locking this in. I don't want this. And I said, you can actually jump. You can jump in the elevator when you go to your appointment. You're getting all that panic and fear, jump in the elevator. It's fun anyway.
Yeah.
And nobody sees you do it if it's just you in the elevator.
Yeah.
And he said, I was jumping every day. He said, and guess what? No cancer. And so there's I like literally jumping. I describe it in my quantum jumping book. You can also walk down the hallway with your own house if you have doorways, if you've got that opportunity. And even if you don't have that many doors, just, I'll use this one if I need to find like a new reality. I'll just walk down the hall, come back. And you can just walk back and come back. You'll see animals do this. I think they know on some level they're quantum jumping. And so humans are a little late to the party because we deny even our psychic abilities, but we've
Oh
got them.
yeah.
And so when you tune in and recognize there's a reality where I'm the author, then just, if you feel like you're not feeling it, just get up, walk around. Especially when you walk through a doorway and then come back through another doorway. It's a subconscious clue and a permission. It's like, she means it. She's doing it. It's like, yeah, I mean it. I'm doing it. So
Interesting.
I really recommend these physical approaches, because what you want to do is bring all of you together. This is not just some lucid dream. Not that I'm putting down lucid dreaming,
Right.
but when you want it in real life, you want it in real life. Like if I need something in my cupboard, I walk out of the kitchen, go down the hall, come back. I might do it several times. Check the cupboard, no nutmeg, shut it. Walk down the hall, come back, open the cupboard, no nutmeg. Yeah, so that actually happened. Maybe I had to do it like 5 times. The 5th time, there it is. Thank you.
So now, as you're doing that, because I can tell people are, and I just had the thought, like, you're going to work really hard at this. Like a lot of people I can imagine are like, there's really nutmeg, like really trying to convince yourself, or are you just easy with it?
Easy with it. And it helps to subscribe to something like my newsletter. If you get these stories every month, and you want to overwhelm and override this training that we get inculcated in our Western, it's terrible. The conditioning that happens, there's just such a oppressive pressure that you can only believe materialism. You can only believe what the five senses measure, and that only what's here right now is real. That's all backwards.
Yeah.
What really runs the show is the quantum physics of it, which and even the physicists agree, if you're going to have a quantum space battle between two captains of two spaceships, whichever one understands this quantum jumping I'm talking about, they're going to win every time. There's scientific papers written about this.
Interesting.
You look it up yourself.
That is
so anybody who's
fascinating.
feeling like no, like it's what's real is real. Nah, it's they're going to be too slow. They're not going to win.
So when you're wanting to quantum jump, like let's say that we're going to talk about this more here in a few minutes, but people have been through a lot the last couple of years, and their reality may not be exactly what they want it to be. A lot of people have had a hard time getting back to work. They're faced with decisions that they don't want to make, or the decision that they want to make is not the favorite decision. So how can they use quantum jumping? I heard you say something one time, look for grab the most favorable timeline. So like if things are looking dire, you're not sure where you're going to get your money. You're not sure, I heard you say, don't settle. Like, don't just say, well, this is the way it's going to be. Keep it open. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, the real key for people, I've been through a lot too this last year, 2021, I cured myself with, intuition, support from the absolute divine source. I give credit where credit's due, God, basically, but I cured myself of long haul COVID. This is the one that people, it's not a joke, that thing. I've got a 4-letter word for it. It's like, I don't usually swear, but when you have, it's like, ooh, that was rough. So anyway, I got through that. And so my heart goes out to everyone who's going through tough times. But the key that I used, and the key that everyone can use, is to rise above, go above the drama. What do I mean by drama? There's a drama triangle. So fear is part of it. Sadness and, feeling like a victim is part of it. And anger is actually part of it. So a lot of people don't know this. These emotions are great. On their own, they're fine. It's just like if you had a whole soup flavored with anger, then it's not good. It's like if you're living in anger, that's not good. Living in grief, not good. And also fear and anxiety, not good. So once you know that, then there are lots of tips on how to get out of that. But that's the key to good jumping, because if any of those things are dragging you down, it's going to mess up your results every single time. So that's like the most important tip. And I just recently did an Ascension workshop where I explain a lot. I give information and tips and so forth. And you can go to my website and look at events, and I think the link is still there, so people can check that out. But yeah, that's like super, 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 super important.
Yeah.
And I've got the handouts and slides and everything in there.
Because things change in a minute.
Yes.
And it all has to do with your perception. Yeah.
And because we're human, it's like our brains are hardwired to find what's wrong. So we lock in on it. And I love to ask how good can it get? But this is all about retraining, retraining this tendency that humans have to say, like, because we're born victims, we're born defenseless, we can't move. Everyone's a victim at birth, basically. It's not just you had maybe one person had a bad childhood, but all of us are victims. All of us we've been through that. And then we often move up to rescuing and feel like, well, gosh, I'm afraid for everything. I'm panicky. What if I don't get a job? It's not up to us to be that afraid. So again, I go through a lot of this detail in the workshop, but you can basically, long story short, if you believe in the absolute, all of the paths go there. So when it gets back to oneness consciousness that is not changing, the one thing that's not changing, and it feels like pure love, and you feel like you're outside of time at that point. Like time doesn't matter. That's how you know you're there. There's no way to be fooled by it. People say, well, you might be tricked. No, you can't be tricked, because it's the feeling of just being embraced with that love, that support, that tremendous blessing. And when you have that, then you can say, okay, you do the heavy lifting, whatever you want to call that, God, source, the universe, divine, the absolute. Like, I'm going to give all my issues and problems to you, whether it's money, health, whatever. Just give it up. Just let go of it. Don't carry it. And then all you need to do is show up and do your part. But you can do these, what we're calling quantum jumping techniques of, go down the hallway, come back, jump up and down, these things that remind you, I'm choosing how good can it get, you know? And I trust that whatever I'm in is how good can it get, even if it looks
Yes.
like still some issues. That's okay. It's to make you stronger. So it's all good.
Right. Yeah. And it's not like a one and done thing. Like you
No.
do have to continue to surrender and
Yes,
practice.
every day.
And the more you do, the better it gets, the better it gets, and the better it
Yes.
gets.
Yes.
And same, I think with quantum jumping too, the more you do it intentionally, the more you're practicing intentionally, and the more you notice when you've achieved something, the more it happens, right? The more you can access that. Is that the way that works?
Yes. Like I think most people initiate into this whole quantum jumping thing as a reality shifter. They just notice things are changing around me. I get angry and my appliances blow out. I walk in a room and the lights go out. That was happening to me a lot before I learned to
Wow.
ground my energy, stay grounded, because I'm like a little walking dynamo. Or some people, it's called sliders. You're driving along and the street light goes out right when you pass. It's got a name because enough people experience it.
Oh, I just got chills.
Yeah. So this is us activating these abilities that we've
Yeah.
had for generations. And now now that I think it's a good thing that we're recognizing like stuff is happening, stuff's hitting the fan, time for us to accept these gifts that we've been given. Really,
Mhm.
they are a blessing. So then you can move into the quantum jumping and say, okay, so if I'm doing this, then I will guide it. I recommend guiding it with how good can it get. The reason I say that is learn from King Midas, because he really wanted gold. He thought, well, that makes sense. I just want gold. But when we humans think we know what we want and we just settle for some lower thing that we can imagine, usually there's a problem with it. Just about always. The King Midas story ended with some sadness and grief for him because he got his wish. Everything he touched did turn gold, but then he would touch his child would turn gold. So everything he loved the most was turning to gold. And I think humans can learn from this with our technologies. We often think like, oh, let's worship the great technology and the great technology gurus. Don't do that. That's going
Mm-mm.
to be a mistake every time.
Yes. Unplug more. I mean,
Right.
honestly, you know,
Nature
TV,
time. Yes.
well, yeah, TV was the beginning. I suppose radio probably was as well, but TV programming, I mean, they are literally
Right.
programming you to believe certain
Right.
things that are not in your alignment,
Best
I think.
interest.
Yeah.
Right.
With your higher self or the creator. They're actually they're shifting you the other direction to make sure that you stay in a certain state of mind. And the same with technology. And it does have its benefits. Obviously, I get to connect with people like you and find people like you. I don't know how these philosophers back in the day, I mean, they obviously receive their information the same way we do, but we have so much more access to it now. And I love that about technology, but everything else,
It needs to be the faithful servant. I'm just saying, don't make it
mm-hmm,
the master. Never make
mm-hmm,
that the master. Doesn't make
mm-hmm.
any sense.
So true. And also what you just said about King Midas, I've always felt that my journey is not to learn how to manifest all the fun things. Like I really have felt that my personal journey has been more about just embracing more my higher self and aligning with that aspect of me. I may think I want to win the lottery, but do I really? Or do I want to create a business? Or do I want, I think I have other things that would be more fun for me. It'd be more fun to receive. I just don't think that manifest is like, oh, that's not going to solve my problem. There's still things underneath that's giving me the feelings that I'm receiving. So,
Yeah, we're humans. We're meant to be creators. We're meant to
yeah,
be caretakers of wonder, creators of truth
caretaker
and
of
wisdom.
wonder. I love
Yeah.
that. Oh, that's a good saying. Okay, so then with this, I'm noticing too, the timeline, you talked about timeline fatigue. I got
Mhm.
it.
Oh yeah.
I have it. It's hit me hard the last actually, I've noticed it the last few days more than anything, but I would say probably the last 4 months of last year,
Yes.
I was really having a hard time. So explain what timeline fatigue is.
Well, you've been going through it, so you could describe what the symptoms you're specifically picking up. But I think people may resonate with you when you say that you
Yeah.
went through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel a heaviness. I feel, I'm trying to use the tools. I journal, I meditate, I do all of the things, and do the things that make me happy.
Right.
But I'm finding it's just a really dense, heavy energy, and I'm exhausted. I might have a good day where I'm high in alignment and I'm communicating with people and creating. And then the next couple days, I'm down, I'm exhausted. I need to stay in bed. I can't communicate. I can't function. It's really interesting. And I've noticed it the last few days the most, where I've had a lot of energy and then just a big crash.
And you strike me as an empath. So I think anybody watching this who's also an empath, Myers-Briggs inventory, those are the intuitive feelers. They're also the most likely to experience the Mandela effect, quantum jumps, reality shifts, all of that. So anybody who's in that kind of group, you're going to be noticing the changes in the energies, like the Schumann resonance. You can see it graphically. You can look and see like, oh, this is what I'm feeling. There is a picture.
Yeah.
The Schumann resonance of the earth is this vibratory signature. It used to be solidly right around 8 hertz. That's not the case anymore. It went up by hundreds, went up by thousands, and now it's just like, wow. It's like crazy lines all over. And you can say like, no wonder. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's because we're going through this, the solar system is moving through the cosmos, and it's kind of going through this belt of energy. That's one possible reason for this increase. There's solar activities as well. There's a lot going on celestially. So if you're picking that up and you're in empath, and then of course the stuff in the world is happening, all of those are going to be factors. But getting back to the hairball of timelines, when you start feeling like, what the heck? That's what you're sensing on an empath level, is there's just so many groups and special interests saying like, let's steer it this way. No, let's steer it that way. And you're kind of caught in the push and pull. So again, this is where I would recommend get above the drama, as much as you can, because sometimes we don't even notice we're in it, but we might have, but we're in a family, we're in a group, or we have friends who are extremely, you'll know the warning signs. They're angry about something, they're upset about something, worried about something, or depressed about something. And there's a lot of all 3 of those groups, the victim, rescuer, the perpetrator. Those are it's like a merry-go-round, but you can feel all that. And what you need to do is get above the drama, above that level of vibratory frequency. And that would be through daily practice of meditation, grounding, and just, I like to just ask, how good can it get? How good can I get? How God can it get? How God can I get? And really draw that highest level energy
I love that.
Into like, that's my choice today. I'm in service. And when I put myself on a service path, then it's also a very high vibratory path. So it instantly sorts that out. And then I'm above all that drama. So I do recommend it.
I like that, consciously saying I'm in service today. I love that. That is a good reminder. I feel too, like some of us empaths, we went through the beginning of COVID and things like that, and felt the heaviness in the collective and things like that. But I think I don't practice grounding as much as I should. I meditate, but I don't know if I practice grounding as much consciously as I should. And I feel right now that is the most important thing with this heaviness that's going on.
Super important.
And it's so fast. Everything's moving so fast. I feel like I've lived 10 years in the first 7 days of this year. It's incredibly fast.
Yeah, it's going super fast.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's hard to
And you're
catch
right
up.
about the grounding.
Mm-hmm.
I posted I reposted a photo on Twitter, on my Twitter account a few days ago, showing the Schumann resonance and reminding everyone, stay grounded. Because then it shows the picture and I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
That was my most liked post. People really, they connected, like, it's to ground. If you feel like you're having trouble, you can get help from crystals. It's okay to I do a little assistance there. You can get a grounding stone, like tourmaline is a good one. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you have a grounding crystal already.
I do. I have
obsidian's
mm-hmm.
Obsidian's good. Okay. I think you just carry it on your person. Don't feel embarrassed about it. Just like, I need it.
I think that's what's difficult too. That's what's difficult too, is if you have family members that, like you say, are looking, and obviously empaths, all of us, we're like, oh yes, how can we help? But sometimes you need to be able to detach and say, hey, I don't have time for that right now. I'll be with you shortly. Let me meditate first, or whatever you need to do. But it's important to own just how you're feeling, accept how you're feeling, because I think sometimes too, not everybody in the family is on the same path that you're on, and they may not understand what it is.
Very few.
And they may not understand what you're going through, and they don't need to understand. They really don't. Sometimes I think that's a personal problem for us, is that we think everybody needs to understand everything that we're going through. It makes it harder when you try.
Right.
But just trying to excuse yourself politely, make sure people aren't, they know that it's not about them. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I say that a lot. And then I nap for 4 hours or whatever, but you deserve to take care of yourself. And that self-love is really what fosters the connection, that God connection, is loving yourself as much as you possibly can.
And being in love with life. Just have that.
Life. Yeah.
Because when you drop, I think a lot of us put these masks on. I talk about that in my book, Reality Shifts. And we get so used to feeling like you're trying to do something, but it's not really you. Yeah. And we lose that childlike wonder and that joy of just magic in every moment. And that's the key, is just falling in love with life again. Just feeling like, I can do this. I can be vulnerable.
Yes.
And so giving yourself permission to take a break, to be vulnerable, just to be authentically you, with no excuses. You don't have to explain anything.
No, you don't. Yeah, you get to, and if you need to rest, this is the other thing too, that living with the higher self is, I follow her. I call it a her, but I follow her. And so if she wants me to create one day, I'm going to create. If she wants me to rest, I'm going to rest. And I honor that. I don't call it a bad thing. I don't make plans too far ahead of time.
Yes.
Because I may not be able to keep them. So if you find that you are feeling down, or you're feeling a little heavier, or you need to rest, honor that. Don't call it a bad thing. It's a good thing. Sometimes we need to reset, and that's integration is a really good, it's a really important part of the spiritual practice, I think, is so just don't say that it's bad. It's not bad. It's great. It's great. That's where I'm at. Yay, I get to take a nap.
And that's when we get these downloads and that connection with our high self. If it didn't happen in the morning when you first say, I'm in service to highest love, to how good can I get, really calling that high self in to run my life today. I am you. I am the high self today.
Exactly.
Because when we do that, you're right. You might need to nap more, might need to be in nature more, might not get done the things you thought you were going to get done. That's okay.
It is fine. Okay. There's nothing serious going on. Like, just relax. She knows best. Whoever, your authentic self, your true self, always has your best interests at heart. So surrender. I think that's the word for the beginning of the year, at least, is what I'm feeling, is surrender. That's awesome. Okay. So let me think. I had a UFO experience recently.
Cool.
I'm very kind of shy about it, because I've not really been that interested in UFOs. It's not been on my radar as far as topics that I geek out on. So, I guess we're going that direction now. So I'll tell you my experience real quick. And then you can let me know if I'm crazy. No. If
not crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. And then I also want to talk to you about, I want to make sure we have time. There were a couple of stories of quantum jumps that you did, or maybe it's reality shifting. I'm not positive, that I want you to share, but just recently. So the very first day of the year, right? We close out the 2021. I'm excited for the 2022, and I am going to get pizza for my kids, and I turned down the side road in my town, and I live in a pretty populated town. It's not like a country road. Went to the Little Caesars drove past the Sherry's restaurant down the side road. And as soon as I turned, I saw these 5 big balloons, almost looking like they were like if they were tied to the top of a car dealership, and they were orange and yellow glowing, and
What
they were
what shapes were they?
They were big orbs, big circle orbs, and they weren't tied together that I could see. And this is at 4:30 in the afternoon, so it's not dark,
Wow.
and which was really interesting to me too. It was, but it had that kind of sunset feel, when the light gets real crisp. It was that, and it wasn't cloudy. It was a beautiful blue sky day. And I live in the Pacific Northwest, so I don't know why that mattered, but anyway, so they looked like they were balloons tied to the top of a car dealership. They were massive, huge, big, 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 and they were all kind of rolling.
How big do you think they were?
I mean, if I were to look, I mean,
like bigger than a car, smaller than a car, like
probably the size of a car, I would say. Probably about the size of a car, like like a good sized sedan. They were huge to me and glowing. And I was on the speakerphone with my daughter, and I'm freaking out because I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at. I was swearing, I think, and saying, what the F am I looking at? What the F is happening? And my daughter's like, I don't know. Nobody else was in the car with me, but she was on the speakerphone. And so as I'm driving, I come up to a stop sign, and there was a woman that pulled up it was a 4-way stop. The woman pulled up on my right, and I thought, she's going to notice this and we're going to have an experience together. Somebody else needs to see this. She didn't see it. She drove right past right through the stop sign. I went to
were they way high? How high in the air were they?
It didn't feel like they were really that high, because like I say, it almost was like they were attached to the house right next to where I had turned down the street. It was like they were attached to that house, and there were some trees on the other side, on the right side of the road. And so it kind of blocked a view.
Tree level
kind of. Yeah. And then eventually they started they were all rolling, but eventually they started shifting in formation, and 2 of them went out. I don't know if I don't remember consciously seeing them go out, but they were gone. Mm-hmm. And then 3 of them moved into a triangular position formation, and I got a picture of it. I have 2 pictures of it, and when I took the picture of it, they look like they're much further away, but I swear, in my experience, they were right in front of my car. So I'm screaming the whole time. I did try to stop and center myself, because I understand that UFOs are aliens, whatever you want to call them, other planetary beings, are consciousness. I know that they communicate with consciousness. And so I tried to center myself and ground myself and receive any message. I couldn't. And then I grabbed my phone quickly and took my picture. And then one by one, it's like they just turned their lights out. But again, it's in the daylight, and I can still see if there were something there, and it was not. There was nothing there anymore. Very incredible experience. And I didn't know how to feel after. Like, I went home and told everybody I knew. It really, it's like a synchronicity where something happens and everybody else is just like, cool.
And that was this year, this month.
Yes.
2022.
The 1st. Yeah.
The 1st of January.
The 1st of January. It was absolutely incredible. I have no idea what or why. I have a little bit, my son is more into extraterrestrials and things like that, and he's 21 and going through some life changes. And so I kind of thought that maybe it had to do with him, like maybe it will help me support him in his journey. It's kind of the thought I had at the time. He could care less right now, which is really weird to me.
Well, there's also, these are contact modalities. I'm borrowing from the name of the book by Grant Cameron and Desta Barnaby, and they talk about how all of these things are consciousness. So if you see, and the numbers are significant, their configuration is significant. you said there were 5 in a line, right? And then
Yeah.
3 in a triangle, right? So,
Mhm.
and it went from 5 to 3. So it's basically kind of going backwards, showing you, like a lot of people say, we're moving our level of consciousness, kind of going from a level 3 to a level 5. So we're raising our vibratory dimensional consciousness. And when you, with what you saw, I see indicators of that. But it would be fun to give yourself the permission to retrieve a deeper level of your own wisdom about this experience
Yes.
through. And I would recommend just go to sleep and say, tonight I'm going to dream, I'm going to re-experience this and go deeper into what it means and wake
Oh,
up with an answer. You can just keep a dream journal. So that it's a really easy, available approach we can all use and
yes.
practicable. Highly recommend it.
I do too. Yeah. I do that with my angels and my guides. I just didn't, but that's, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that
Yeah.
because I know there was a reason for it.
Yeah.
And I thought my thought process was like, well, everybody had to have seen this. I mean, anybody who was going eastbound that time would have seen it, and nobody, I mean, I posted it on Facebook. I thought I would see it on the news. My dad thought it would be on the news. And you were saying you think it was something that was just meant for me to see. Now
Yes.
my ego wants me to take that and run with it like I'm special, but
you're special, and it's for everyone. I wrote an article about this for Parabola magazine called Comes True Being Hoped For. And it was looking at the Hopi indigenous people who talk about us being in the fifth world, that, you know, that we're moving from one world to another, that this happens. And you'll see the indicators in our reality when it's time for this to occur. There will be dead animals coming alive. Well, we've got that. Those are Lazarus species, Mandela effect animals, mandanimals. We cover it on our monthly open tables shows for the International Mandela Effect Conference every month. Our next one will be with an author, Roger Marsh, the 19th of January. And then we do it every month. So you can just find our channel. But this is the thing. And the Hopi knew about it. They said this will happen. They also, in my article, I cover how by day, like before the sun sets, people would be guided. Often they called it a cloud, you know, but at the time of this transition from one world to the next, which I think we're in right now. And so the people who keep their Kopavi, the crown chakra, open and keep your hearts open, those are I mean, all the chakras matter, but if you're going to keep two, keep your heart open and stay open to receive information from your dreams, your angels, your guides, and you will be guided. By night, people would see a star moving. So they're basically talking about UFOs. They're saying by day, they can be guided by them. By night, what kind of guidance? This kind of guidance. So it's not literally like I have to walk to a trail and I guess now we're going to cross the United States and carry your backpacks, kids. No. It's not like that. It's like what happened to you in this awakening that we're all feeling. And that's what, to me, if you're asking me, you're sharing it with me. So
no, that makes a lot of sense because the conversation I was having with my daughter right before I saw it, I said, I feel like we're about to go through a shift. Yes. I said, I feel like I'm ending a cycle, and I feel like we're all about to go through a shift of some kind.
Yes.
And I said it literally right before. And at that point I was coming out of the Little Caesars and I'm looking left where I would normally turn. And there was a line of traffic and I was like, nah, I don't feel like going through there. And I went right. And then I thought, I'll just cut down the side road. As soon as I turn on the side road, there it was. And that is how they communicate with you. They just,
I love, you know, if you wrote down what you just said, I'm going to run it. If that was like, I like to look at life like it's a dream with respect to reality shifts, which is, and you can do that with what you just said. So you didn't want to go down like mainstream. You wanted to go to the right. So it's not left brain materialist consciousness. It's right brain intuitive consciousness. You turn right.
Wow.
Like even what you did is intensely meaningful.
Yeah, because I wanted to take the path of least resistance. I wanted to go.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the right where it was easier.
Less traveled.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh gosh, I just had a moment. That just hit me hard. That's beautiful. Yeah. That's exactly what happened. And oh yeah, it was a powerful moment. I'm so grateful for it. And I remember when I got home, I said out loud as I was walking into my house, I'm so sorry I freaked out. You kind of caught me off guard.
Right.
Didn't mean to scream. next time I'll do better.
I know. I mean, it's like it's you're communicating with different levels of consciousness. It's fun.
So fascinating. Okay, tell the story about I loved the blinds. I love that story.
Yeah, you're talking about when I washed my curtains, the silk ones, and they shrank.
Yes.
More like 20 years ago, I did this silly thing. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have paid it. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, these are the kind of things you should take it to the dry cleaner, right? No, I'm like, no problem. I can wash this anyway. So I throw it. I was washing it on delicate, but clearly it was not quite cold enough water for what. And I did drip dry it and everything. Long story short, those curtains were never the same. To the point I had to change the rods because it was like they don't fit. You know, it was
my gosh.
It was like a fitted curtain that goes from a bar on top and a bar underneath. And now I had to like move one of the bars so that it can fit. And now that there's light and gap coming through the window, and it's kind of annoying. And that yet went on for years, and it didn't bother me. Like, well, that's just that silly thing I did. I didn't think much about it. But then for some reason during the pandemic, I keep looking at that curtain. We're all more in our homes, more staring at the walls. I'm staring at the wall, looking at that curtain, like, that is annoying. And I'm laughing now because then within 24 hours, like the next time I looked at it, it's like, now it's doing something else annoying. It's like drooping down. And it took me like time to figure out what
is going on.
Like the curtain, it like regrew something that had been decades too short from shrinkage. And then suddenly the day after, I'm thinking like, that's so annoying. Like the gap in that window, it should have a curtain that covers it properly. I should pay for new silk curtains, but boy, that's annoying. And then suddenly it works. So I needed to readjust
your perspective, I guess. I don't know. That's really fascinating. That's really fascinating. It reminds me of a girl I just heard recently, and I'm not sure of the whole story, but she said she has moments or days where she'll wake up and her hair is noticeably shorter than what it typically is. And then she'll have days where it's much longer. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, those are flip-flop reality shifts. And I've seen them not so much with myself, although it could happen, but I've sometimes, but usually with someone else. We had a family dog that had cataracts in his eyes. And this first time I saw it, I know what to do. Basically, no. I don't say no to the dog. I was thinking, I'm silently no to the cataracts. Like, no, you need to have good vision. You're an elderly dog. Yes. Cataracts, no. And so I went through that. And then my husband came and said, oh, bad news about the dog. And I was like, oh, you mean, and it's like the cataracts in his eyes. Yes. Like, yeah, it looks that way sometimes, but what you do is, and I explained what to do. He's like, oh, okay. Because it's this household. And then my daughter came to me, it's her dog. And she's like, oh, Mom, bad news about the dog. And I'm like, oh, I went through the whole thing again. Anyway, once we had all three of us on board, that dog never had cataracts that stayed, So it's really powerful if you've got like a whole household that can get behind this approach, because then you can look at like bad news about whatever, the news or just what I saw on TV, like, oh, no. It looks like that, but we're not going to go there.
It is all about perspective and holding the highest vibration. Like that's incredible. That's incredible. Okay. I could talk to you all day long. I know you have a lot of other things to do though. Hopefully you'll come back and visit again. But I was hoping that at the end here, we could just take a couple of minutes and do a little meditation.
Let's do one. Considering, I think where we are at the beginning of this new year is like what you said, we want a fresh start. We don't want that heavy feeling. So let's do one to whatever level we're at, to bring in a lightness of being and just kind of lift ourselves out of what may feel like this kind of hairball or heaviness. Okay.
Yes.
So
sounds good.
I'm closing my eyes. You can just get comfortable. You could stretch.
Yes.
And it's okay to yawn. I recommend if you yawn, look up, because it's an energy release. Oh, talk about it. Well, ooh.
That does feel good.
Yeah, it feels so good. So yawn, stretch, and then find comfortable place of lying. If you want to lie down, if you're watching, you can do that. Doesn't matter what position you're in. Bring your breathing to a slow, steady rhythm that works for you. Just paying attention to the breathing for a little bit here. Just Might count how many seconds in and seconds out if you want to, but it's not about how many seconds. It's just finding your own natural, steady, slow rhythm. And if you breathe to your lower abdomen, that's really good. If you've never done that, then it's just below the belly button. It's the way we start out life, breathing that way. As small children, as infants, newborns, they all breathe from that lower abdominal breathing. And that's what we're doing there is working with the energy centers at that location. That's like the energy, that's like the engine of the car that corresponds down there with the second chakra. So just slowing the breathing down and feeling relaxed with that. Good. And now we're going to imagine, we talked about this heaviness. We're going to let go of anything that's heavy, that's not ours. So you can release anything that's not yours, that's not love. Just breathe it out on the exhale and imagine that you can just send that energy down through a grounding cord to the center of the earth where she can recycle and replenish that energy. When you inhale, you can imagine you're bringing in beautiful golden white light direct from the absolute source of unchanging pure love. Just feel that this is a nice steady rhythm now, breathing in that beautiful golden white pure love energy, exhaling and letting go of the things we talked about that haven't been too pleasant. We're going to let go of them now. So anything we mentioned in this entire show, or anything you're thinking about or have been dealing with, all of that can be let go of. Just for right now, giving ourselves permission just to let go of anything that feels sad or feels anxious or feels upset. Just letting that go. Any kind of annoyances with other people or what you think they might be doing, that's not ours. We're just going to let that go. And continuously with each breath, breathing in, receiving this beautiful golden white love energy, this pure love. Receiving this in every cell in our bodies, every fiber in our being, really welcoming that. Allowing this to naturally benefit ourselves, restore balance and grace and love and harmony within our mind, our body, and our spirit. And exhaling and just letting go of everything that's not that. Just for right now, just letting go of everything that's not that. This is the breathing that we're doing, so just keep that breathing. And now, in addition to that inhale, that pure love, and exhale, anything that's not love, we'll imagine that this is a fresh start to this new year, and we are welcoming with real sincere desire to know how good can our lives get? How good can everything get for all of us, for everyone? Genuinely wishing the best for all concerned. It's not just a wish for ourselves, it's a wish for all of us. Really wishing for everyone and everything we love in this vast interconnected network of life. So it's not even just people, it's our trees and our plants and our pets and our animals and wildlife and the earth. Really intending that this is the year we will see things truly and see a path forward to live gracefully, harmoniously, peacefully, joyfully at our highest level of being. And letting go of any tensions and feelings of concerns, anything that might have been troubling us, things that we can let them go right now. They're not yours, they're not ours. So even if it was something that felt like it was real, we're going to give ourselves permission to let it go just for right now, with the awareness that there's another reality that we can tune in like a radio signal. It's right here. And we're all doing this together, so we're helping each other. So even if you feel like this is something you may have had trouble with, no problem. We're helping you right now. To everyone watching this, we're joining together to support all those who would like just a little assistance, to believe that that stuff that they thought was impossible or impassable or difficult doesn't matter. We're going to let go of any concerns and worries. Just let it go to absolute love, let absolute creative source handle all of that. And we'll know that what we need is always ours, that love is the truth, that we are supporting one another, that we are connected with everyone and everything we love. Always. Love never dies, it's forever. We have these connections that are quite real. And in this beautiful sense now of feeling this love, this connection, this grounding, this clarity, even if you can't quite see it, you are right with that best possible reality now. You are choosing it right now, just knowing it's true. You can feel it. We're all helping each other feel it. We're choosing it for one another and for ourselves, and it's happening right now. Easily, effortlessly. You might get a sense of what it is, maybe a glimpse or a knowingness. If you'd like a clue as to what your next steps are, you can ask for that right now. You'll be given guidance and support. We can thank all of our high selves and thank absolute creative source. Thank the earth. Thank all the plants and animals. And we'll just know with certainty that we're on our forward paths, discovering how good it can get. We're doing this together. Everyone's connected. We're all helping one another the best we can at our highest levels of selves, where we are connected. And we know it. And take another deep breath. Just this is a clearing breath, just to release anything that came up. You can hold on to any vision and ask to remember it. You will retain that guidance and that awareness. And just clearing out any residual energy from this meditation that you don't need for daily life. Just resetting back to regular consciousness, regular daily state of being, but with the connection to this knowingness. You will retain that and the connection to one another. You have friends, you have supporters. We're with you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Oh, that was yummy. That felt really good. So good.
Thank you.
I cannot thank you enough, Cynthia. This was an amazing experience for me. And I'm sure for all my listeners that are, if they haven't met you before, I know that they're going to be big fans now. So I will have all of Cynthia's information linked in the description below, where you can get in touch with her, get signed up for her newsletter, read her books. Yeah, thank you so much. What an amazing journey this has been. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia.